fear for safety following mysterious death of senior police officer. State-owned enterprises accumulate $36.54 million debts, with a Serotel accounting for 80.71%. Accountability for building collapses, lawyer says long chain of people liable. And those are stories on the Auco newspaper. And the next speak is the Global Times. And the first story is saying, DIG Samadia receives report on AU oversight mission to Sierra Leone police. And the Turkey-Sierra Leone prosperity embrace. And ISA group to invest in transportation, agriculture, and housing. Acting Chief Justice grants $1 billion new loans bill to accused. Standards Bureau Executive Director visits ODHAV multi-steel industry. Okay, those are stories on the Global Times newspaper, and the next speakers are the exclusive newspaper, and its banner headline says, coup, how they planned to overthrow President Biu. You can already see on the screen pictures of some scene there in the third and ninth accusers, are stated. 94 cases for September criminal session. The 3 updates on the collapsed 7-story building at Shell New Road. 12 dead, 7 survivors. More on that you can see from page 3 on the exclusive newspaper. And tragedy, 2 dead, 2 in critical condition. I beg your pardon on that. And our next week is the Night Watch newspaper. The Night Watch newspaper, one of the stories saying Kadiru Kaikai flouts court order to pay $74,000. Bill came to rule, not to govern. The SLPP executive. Okay, and the next speak is the Forum newspaper. Leicester Road community calls for good road. GFK, APC's Maverick player is already on the field. Is bad to support feed saloon with $40 million livestock project. Those are stories on the front on the Forum newspaper. And the next speaker is the Africa 24. The Africa 24 is saying to avert national disasters, wake-up call for President Biu. Also inside this edition, the AfriMoney launches Come Join We promotion. SLRSA heightens safety campaign. Starts as whereabouts unknown. Those are stories on Africa 24. And our next speak is the Satellite newspaper. As she opposes divisive politics within ruling party, First Lady warns SLPP intending flag bearer aspirants. And another story on the Satellite newspaper, flights volume 2 increase to 50 per week. And the final story on the Satellite newspaper is President Bill calls for integrated solution to food security, climate change. And second to last speakers is the Lombard, newspaper. KKY champions strategic reforms in energy sector. Slehard ED highlights achievements and reforms. Ukel Commercial Bank honors long-serving employees. Afri Money launches Come Join We campaign to promote financial inclusion. For excellence in telecoms, Press Gallery honor one of the mobile companies in the country. And the final pick is the Independent Observer. Mr. President, can we talk? That's from part 9, the saying international flights to increase to 50 per week. International flights, rather, to increase to 50 per week. I think we can go through. They are quoting the head of the department for that, and the final pick is saying the final story is saying averting national disaster. Wake-up call for President Bill. And so, as I said, I have with me in the studio two fine gentlemen to look at some of the issues we've mentioned already on the front page of our newspaper on Wake-up on front page this morning. So with me, as I said, I have Victor Tutu, just social commentator, media analyst with me in the studio. Good morning, welcome to the program again.
Thank you.
And Amadou Esba, good morning, and welcome again.
Thank you.
So let's look at the first speak on the AYV, our own AYV newspaper, particularly so on the first family's visit to UK, particularly the President Bill Hamid, and delivered his keynote address in the Oxford University by make mention and calls for solution for food security and climate change, and also mention about the agriculture, the sector in our country, owing to the fact of what has been happening. You've been following this as well. What would be your own cue with regards to President's visit in the United Kingdom, delivering his keynote address in that gathering?
Well, in the first place, I think it is a good platform because at the end of the day, it's not just about the President delivering keynote address, but it is about selling the country's vision.
Correct.
And encouraging investment as well, because we do know that there are investors who attended the said event. So I believe what really Sierra Leone did on that particular platform is to market the country's vision of food security and how we can as well contribute to the campaign of climate change. And then looking at the story itself, as the President is seeking for solutions to food security and that of climate change. This is a flagship program. The Feed Salon is part of our drive in ensuring that we have food security in the country. And it is obvious that we need to consider climate change if we truly want to be a self-sufficient country when it comes to food insecurity, so to speak. Firstly, we must consider sustainable agricultural practices. We must also consider the diversification of crops. We must also consider water conservation and management. We should also look at reducing food waste because it is part of our culture, so to speak. We must also look at supporting small older farmers. We also need to think about that. And we should ensure all these things are being put together because, one, if you look at the way farming is going on in this particular country where we find ourselves, it has been more of destroying the forest so that we can have food at the end of the day on the table.
Correct.
And that has affected our climate system long before this time. So if we are now talking about trying to juxtapose food sufficiency and that of having a proper climate for the furtherance of agriculture in this country, we must consider some of these things that I've highlighted. And empowering these smallholder farmers is also very, very key. We must try to see how we can educate them from moving away from the normal traditional way of farming, and try to see how we can empower them to at least start a small scale of mechanized farming, because we know that when we cut down trees, they do affect, but there are several other ways that we can engage in rice planting or planting of other crops, so to speak, and would not end up affecting the climate or the environment, so to speak. So it is very, very important that the president is making this a call for solutions. And I believe when some of these solutions come out from citizens, and especially with those that are engaged in the act of farming itself, I believe that these recommendations should be looked into, and we should be able to implement them to the fullest. Because at the end of the day, you cannot really have a country that is self-sufficient agriculture-wise if the climate is not conducive for the purposes which we are pushing for.
Right. Considering what have been happening of late, as you mentioned before, I'll move over to Victor Tutu. Just consider what have been happening for us as a country. We've been faced with several challenges in terms of our climate, how the environment, how we are treating, our community, our environment as well, generally, leading to flooding and massive, collapse of building in Freetown and other places. What I've been reporting, some of the affected storms or what have you. Are we there as a nation? Presidents, moving to the United Kingdom, making strong statements with regards, some of the gains being made and effort as well the government are putting to ensure that, we're able to address this issue?
Well, I can't say we're yet there 100%, but I think we've been taking bold steps in ensuring that we address these issues.
Correct.
Because firstly, we must be able to set up institutions that will look into issues like this. What we need to now ask ourselves, are these institutions functional for the role for which they were established? Say, for instance, the Environmental Protection Agency. What role are they playing in ensuring that we have our environment to be in the proper shape that it is supposed to be, averting some of these challenges we're having with floodings and the deforestation that is taking place. And we also need to look at how best is the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry working with these agencies in ensuring that we are putting things in place so that we can be on a better footing when it comes to the fight against these climate challenges that we're facing. Of course, we are aware that the president, just after his re-election in 2023, he created an office for climate change. And we believe that once these institutions are being set up, okay, it's a step in the right direction. Now, what we need to do is ensure that we try to see how these bodies can come together and try to create policies, formulate policies that will influence the protection of the environment itself and deter all these climate challenges that we are already facing as a country. And when it comes to buildings being collapsed in this country, I think the Ministry of Lands and Country Planning have a greater role to play. They have a very, very significant role in playing so that they can ensure that these situations do not meet this country at this particular time. Because as you said earlier on, if we are out there speaking and promoting some of the strides that we are making, and then back home we still have challenges that seems not to be as we put it to the international stage, it implies we have more work to do. But as I have said, the most significant part is we have the institutions. What now these institutions need to do is to ensure that they step their game up in ensuring that the safety of Sierra Leoneans is always being prioritized in any of their policies that they are creating.
All right. Amadu, continue to stay with us. Victor Tutu Ojas, I mean, what would be your own bite with regards President's visits to the United Kingdom? I mean, where he called in his keynote address, let me quote from what the paper is saying, that's AYV newspaper. He emphasizes the interconnected nature of global challenges like climate change, food security, and energy access, calling for innovative solutions to address these pressing issues. Africa is on the front line of the climate change crisis, President Liu noted, I think, that despite the continent's vast natural resources, climate change threatens to reverse progress with 65% of the world uncultivated area land, as the report's been said, and the rest we will look at on that. So what will be your bite with regards President's visits, as I mentioned, with regards making the strong statements in the issue of climate change and other related issues as we speak?
Yeah. To start with, the visit is not new. He has been making these visits all this while, and it's like adding to the visits he has been making before this time, and then bringing attention, the attention of those that are there, that have been planning to, they have been convinced before this time, upon his visit, to bring them back home, and some that are interested to come and do something home. And then relating it to the continental aspect, it's like saying what is happening in Sierra Leone is not only limited in Sierra Leone.
Right.
Africa as a whole, when you look at Africa right now, you have the European world coming, rushing madly to the African countries because of the resources that are there. But when they come home, Africa, to come and embark on whatever they may want to do, you look at it like saying the structures. They are not structures, really implemented by Africans to ensure that their lands or their climate are being protected.
Right.
Because when these people come to seek for what they need or what they're interested in, the laws that are being put in place are not followed to the letter. At the end of the day, these people will make their gains and move without the very African not realizing what they too should have, because when these people are here to embark on whatever they want to do, mineral or whatsoever, you can get to the particular areas. You're talking about agriculture, you're talking about environment. All these areas are being damaged by whatever kind of structure that may be placed there, kind of like mining. Now you cannot see the land or the environment protected to the fullest. You will see that only few will be part of these particular people to gain, selfishly, than to work in the interest of the community they serve. So at the end of the day, the disaster that will take place there is not only limited in Sierra Leone. Africa as a whole, whatever African country you may go, this thing is like a prone activities for which, if they are not being put properly in place, that's why the advocacy of our president is on behalf of Africa, because he knows that it is not only limited in Sierra Leone. Of course, upon his observation, he knows what is happening in Sierra Leone, but it's been replica in other countries as well, in Africa, for which structures are not really put in place to date. Even our very selves here, you can see when they are here, we put everything on paper, but upon implementation on the ground, it's not working. And if it is not working, then we are still there to work on issues for us to be there. So that's the biggest role. Getting out there, creating an advocacy, he has been on it. And he's doing it in the best interest of the country to ensure that our country must be developed. and it must be structured.
But how would this reflect to the growth and development of the country, as you mentioned, his visit, as you mentioned, said that President Bill is, it has not been the first time in been visiting other countries, advocating for, for making more stronger statement for, more development in the country. But how would this, reflect to us as a country in terms of our development?
The reflection is our implementation upon structures that we are putting. I witnessed the 7-story building that was done on the very first day. In fact, I slept there. I left there at 7 a.m. the following day for the whole night with the military and the Red Cross disaster management. We were there.
Can I say thank you for your service to this nation?
So I was there with them. But what I observed, that was sad, is that though the disaster management institution is there, but they must have equipment for those particular issues. There must be a full-scale equipment. It's not only the name. The name is one. But when these things are there, when it started, when we were there at around 2, 3, getting to 4, one of the items that was needed most was that giant cutter, the one that can pierce the wall, because some of these people we are calling, on phone, they are in there stored, but we are calling that we are here, this is what is happening. If there were machines like that, I would have got to that place, pierced the building, and retrieved some of these people. It was not there. And the kind of, the place is like a valley. Right down there, there's nothing like a move around. So looking at those things, when these structures are there, these institutions are there, to perform such duties, there must be equipment for that.
Okay.
And that's one. Coming to the area of agriculture. Agriculture, seriously, that's our area now that we should really press on. Food security. It's like enough is there, and we can give to others out of the country, and that will drop down our dollar, crisis or whatsoever. How can we do this again? The land is there. We have enough. But if this land is there, what are the measures that have really been put in place to see that they are being made use of? And if that is happening, what will be the security around it? Talking about the climate change, we saw what the July, to August, now September. Talking about the rainy season, we've seen the amount of disaster that has taken place. What will be put in place now? These studies would have been for long now.
Okay.
These studies has been there, come and go. What are the measures that we should put in place now? Prone areas, disaster-prone areas. What are the measures that should be put in place to see that we don't envisage this kind of thing? Looking at the hills, all right? The trees, the green belt areas or whatsoever. We have seen people stubbornly can still push to this end, put their structures that is not called for at all. What are the policies that are put in place to ensure that irrespective of your status, it doesn't mean or matter who you be, but for the fact that you've gone against the law that has been put in place to protect these particular areas in the interest of all. Whosoever flout that particular law must be dealt with accordingly to serve as a deterrent for others to see and push back. But in a situation wherein some are like secret from what should be taken against them, it's leading to so many to go where they are not supposed to go.
All right.
So at the end of the day, it is good. I was reporting this morning on the Malayan radio on this particular issue. What I was saying is that it's better whether you do good, you do bad, people must talk. So it's better you do good at a very high percent. At the end of the day,
right.
Those that are not convinced, but seeing that really it was good, right. We motivate them to change. Human being is liable to change. Then you seek to say, if I do it now, what will happen? So where there is a total change to be taking place, irrespective of whatever, not politics or whatsoever, just down everything and pursue development. At the end of the day, people will say it's better. Let me follow development and politics. So
gentlemen,
let them deal with the law.
Definitely so. I absolutely agree with you.
Or change with, whatever policies we are putting in place to cover the climate change, the agriculture and the energy sector.
Let me just look at one of the pick saying the new numbered saying KKY champions strategic reforms in energy sector. The story is saying Dr. Kane Konoyimkela, had a meeting with EDSA, particularly so the project implementation units, to discuss on gains or progress being made with regards to the energy sector and challenges and how to tackle that. After, some of the investment they've done, and they've also raised concern with regards to some issues of electricity theft and what's the view. But then, Amadou, you also look at this peak. Kanda Yumkela championing strategic reforms in energy sector in the country. This has not been the first time we've been hearing this. We've been seeing some moves being made, but we're still challenged in terms of energy the gains being made in the energy sector. What's your advice on this latest move from Dr. Kane Konoyimkela engaging key stakeholders with regards to the energy in the country?
Well, to start with, I think there have been a significant improvement in the energy sector of late in terms of energy supply, although there are still challenges, but there have been a significant improvement in that particular area. And coming to KKY's move on strategic reforms in the energy sector, I want to believe that Dr. Kanda Yumkela we've got a very good country pedigree when it comes to energy itself, or international pedigree, let me put it that way, because we all know that he's headed a very, very critical area when it comes to renewable energy in the UN, being there as the United Nations Development boss. So now is here again to give back to his country, in the sense that he's going to contribute towards making reforms in energy sector. And of course, the first point of call is always EDSA. And we have now seen the engagement that he's doing with EDSA. But again, when it comes to the engagement of EDSA, I want to take a very, very different stance when it comes to engaging EDSA. Implementing a successful energy reform, I think there are critical steps we need to look at. Firstly, we must think about policy development. We must establish clear and comprehensive energy policies that outlines the goals, the strategies, the regulations for the reforms. These policies should be there to address the issue of renewable energy, targets, energy efficiency measures, and transition plans. If all these things are not being looked into when it comes to policy development, then we are yet to achieve our full potential when it comes to having a reform energy sector. Another thing again we need to look at is stakeholder engagement. Stakeholder engagement is very significant in the sense that when you engage not just the government agency, the industry representative, the environmental groups, and the public, is crucial to the point that it gains the support, right? It gains the support because stakeholders' engagement, as I said, starting with the government, the energy, those who are energy representative, those who are providing, the industry representative, so to speak, that is the business partners, because we all know that we need to encourage investment in the energy sector. It is also another significant thing that we need to do. For us to have a very sustainable or a strategic reform in the energy sector, we must encourage private investment in the energy sector, which would have other options, not only EDSA. For me, if you really want to talk about reformation, it should not just be about engaging EDSA. Of course, we know that EDSA is the only the only entity that we have for now. But how do we bring in other industry players to ensure that it is not EDSA that we will only engage? Because when you have only one institution being the one providing a particular service, I mean, there's a room for monopoly.
Yes, so you're saying competition is not there. So that really affects us as a consumer.
Yes. So it undermines whatever reform that we may have to make. But if you encourage some other genuine industry players, let me use that word, other genuine industry players, I believe when you talk about reform and you want a sustainable energy plan for this country, then we have to get it right by encouraging private investment in the energy sector. It is very, very significant
do you think,
to the development of having a sustainable energy.
Do you think EDSA as the lead institution, in selling out, the energy after being generated from EGTC, much over the years have not been done because there are so many hue and cry coming from EDSA themselves with regards, what has been happening considering the electricity thefts and what have you. Do you think because they're the sole body, sending light to the consumer, the public, and the competition is not there in terms of having the required results Sierra Leoneans are expecting?
Yes, of course. You see, let me tell you something. If you are a player and you are at the center of it all, right? The more excuses you give to people for your inability, it shows some amount of lack on your part. What I think EDSA should now do is try to see how they can ensure that some of these excuses that they've been giving Sierra Leoneans, when you talk about, I think there was a report which stated that EDSA loses about 40%, right, of the resources that comes from the energy sector. They get about 60%. And that 60% that they get, they can only account for about 30%. And we all saw when Dr. Kande Yunkela at one point said there is a lot of corruption in that particular entity, right? So you remember when I started making my points on this particular situation, I talked about having just one player creates room for monopoly. So where are we going to get the actual accounts for these 40% that EDSA is claiming to be losing in terms of electricity theft? What have they done in ensuring that we've been able to curtail some of this situation? Inside of the EDSA itself, do they really have the rightful players there? Are those that who are supposed to be in significant positions of implementation, are they really there? Are they functioning? But again, there is light at the end of the tunnel, because having people like Dr. Kande Yunkela with a wealth of experience being in the energy sector, I think we will definitely see a bit of a change, or we'll see a drastic improvement, right? An holistic improvement in the energy sector. And we all know, again, recently he appointed one of the most outstanding engineers, and who I believe have run that particular institution at one point, or his company have run that particular institution, to be the chair of the board in the person of Mr. Andrew Kamokaili. So these are experienced people that he has brought on board in ensuring that the energy sector is really being looked into. And when we're talking about reform, we need to have all these people come together. But again, what I am saying, in this reform, they should create policies that will encourage private investment in the energy sector.
We are back to continue the rest of the program. Do we have just a few minutes remaining as we're trying to round off the conversation? And on that, Victor Tutu Rogers, there are many efforts have been made with regards, to address the electricity challenges in the country. Dr. Kande Yunkela engaging key players in the sector in terms of reform. What's your bite with regards his move?
It was not a mistake for the president to appoint Dr. Kande Yunkela to be in that particular sector, managing three areas you could think of: the climate, the energy and agriculture. I mean, it's not a mistake at all because he has vast knowledge in that particular area upon the background of, I mean, his academic, or he can know that he knows much about that area. And then coming in, I can agree. I mean, I agree with the word competition. Competition is not there at all. The ETSA is like saying they have tried their best, and even though we can talk about their lapses, but coming back to we our very selves, being the consumers and customers to them, I mean, if you think of our role of destruction in their activities, you can really know that even though they have their own lapses, corrupt practices, I mean, embezzlement or whatsoever, but they come back to we again. How many institutions are they gaining from ETSA without paying them either their monthly, quarterly, or yearly subscription? It's not there at all. The payment, the area of payment, you get to some government institutions paying ETSA their bills. It's very challenging. Coming out again, you can get some stakeholders in society. You think of the games they are playing as against the detriment of ETSA. It's not easy at all. We know their own lapses. We know their own area. But the challenges again are we, the very consumers, are part of it. So they cannot grow in that aspect. But Dr. Kande Koleyon-Kela, I've been thinking of the time when the politics was at the height, where he has been an advocate for this particular sector for long because he knows the issues and he has been saying it, I mean, at different channels. So now that he is there, we know he can get the ability to go about it. But again, he can only succeed if those he is working with are ready, really, and we cooperate with him. Because the problem about Sierra Leone right now is not as an individual with what you know. It's how best people will work with the policies that are being down in record for implementation. And implementation is the biggest problem. You will see all of this with all what you put together when you want to hit now to really achieve politics coming. People will start to come when they want to get drop down your energy, your effort, to betray you, your kind of zeal that you have. They start to bring in political crying down statements just for you not to push.
Do you think much has been done in terms of energy supply in the country?
I can tell you it's better. Compared to before. Whatever development that is going on or you want to do as a process, you will not get there as you want it. But if there are structures and the structures are followed, it will be like 1,000 miles, starting with a step. The step has been there before this time. Energy, think of Freetown, we are growing. Freetown is getting bigger every day. And just one ETSA alone to supply the entire Freetown. That's why we are finding the challenge. If there had been a competition, wherein there are other electricity suppliers or providers, by now, we say the entire Waterloo go towards Mashaka will not depend on from Waterloo coming to the western area here. So it's like ETSA would have just remained here to supply this end, and the other end there's another service provider. They're getting into the provinces. You go to the provinces now, bigger towns, they are we also have this solar energy, and that is part of the competition. And if we have that enough, you see that at the end of the day, things will be moving just like how we are going right now. But when you go to the provinces right now,
much better
than before. That means there's more ahead that we work if only we follow the trend. So, let us work with the policies and ensure that, let's work with the policies and the implementation be done accordingly.
All right.
It will not be 100%, but let us go accordingly.
Definitely. So, Victor Tutu, just continue to stay with us quickly, gentlemen. The satellite newspaper, First Lady warns SLPP intending flag bearer aspirants. This is coming. We all know that His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio's time in office will come to an end in 2028, and First Lady sending strong warning to aspirants on their dealings with regards what's been happening. But let me just quickly run through what's a statement for the First Lady of Senator Dr. Fatima Maada Bio has cautioned that intending flag bearers, aspirants, and their supporters should focus on unity and development instead of current the divisive politics within the party. According to the First Lady, if you want to be president, start to behave like a leader. If you are a supporter, advise your candidates to take APC seriously. Anes Kurma did everything humanly possible to stop Maada Bio from being president, but he could not because SLPP was ready, adding that election is not won by pictures or fake news. It is won by preparedness. The story continue, among other things. A strong warning from First Lady with regards uniting party members, coming together, and if indeed they want to be in power, I should say. What's your bite on that?
Well, I think I want to agree with the First Lady in all the lines that you've read so far. As far as I'm concerned, the Sierra Leone People's Party should now focus on not only unity, but development. Because the success of SLPP to retain power, all right?
You mean not on unity?
No, I'm coming.
The unity is there.
No. Unity is for their party. Unity is for their party, right?
Are you sure unity is
we all know. I'm
coming. Are you sure unity is within the?
Well, I wouldn't want to speak to that.
He's not talking. He's not. I'm talking
unity within the party.
It's just that when he said
yes. No, I'm coming.
Right.
The unity she's talking about is within their party.
That's it.
But I want to focus on development because as a Sierra Leonean, that is what moves me. Even for SLPP or APC.
Yes.
You understand?
Unity is base.
Yes, unity is their own base. It is left to them to be united or not. But if SLPP is to really and truly maintain power in 2028, they should not forget it is solely dependent on what they do now, right? What the party does now is what they will have to speak up to tell the people that this and that is what we've done in terms of development.
Okay.
They should rather focus on development than focus on the flag bearership for now. We all know that there will be somebody that would take the mantle from President Bio. But for now, let the game be development and not the politics. As a matter of fact, if they choose not to be united, he left to them. First Lady will set an example already. She set an example already that the former president
and speak up.
Yes, did all what he could to ensure that his party remained in power.
Right.
However, because some amount of division was among them, they were unable to succeed. So it is left to them. It is left to them.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Quickly, Ahmad, on that. Just quickly, in just a few minutes, your bite on that. First Lady coming out very strong, that's calling for unity and development within the party.
Some may say it's not First Lady should say so. Some may say so because of politics. But let me tell you, it's the actual fact. Being that she coming out to give this kind of voice, whatever they may say about she's speaking to the truth, that it's just 1 year plus that the second regime of her husband is in power. But let's come back to the era of those that are, want
Quickly,
to be the
please.
flag bearer.
Quickly, please.
Yes, flag bearer, you are there to complement the effort of the president. And you being appointed is like saying, come and assist me or help me, let's push development. And those that are in the party, but might not be in any of the room,
Right.
but are in the party, it's like saying, let us push development so that come that thing we want to come out. This will be the legacy that will, sit on as a platform to market ourselves. So, but if you go in division now, if we are to put 100% here,
right.
30% is off on campaign, off, the 10% left for development is not enough. So let everybody bring the 100% or 90% on board for development and the 10% reserve. So come, close to election, go into your divisions now, and then go on politics.
Right.
But for now, it is not that a time for
the time is not right.
Yes, but for development, it's just the second year of the second phase.
Okay.
And then you want the very party to stay. So if you want the party to stay, then work in the best interest of the party and not an individual.
Thank you.
Selfishly will cause a problem.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time, for being part of the program. Victor Tutu Ojas is a media analyst and a paralegal social commentator. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, Amadou Esba, a senior digital reporter from TDN African Media. Good morning. Thank you very much for your time, bro.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And this is where we bring down the cuttings for today's edition of Front Page View. Have been watching here on the Africa Young Voices Media Empire on Channel 33. We also be on Facebook and also on the radio on 11.7 FM via mobile app as well. Many thanks to our guests who've been here with us and gracing today's edition of the show. Many thanks to the technical team and our program producer who've been working immensely well, doing all the cooking for us here on the program. That's Anna Yangsin, and to our technical team. And I've been your presenter. My name is Ransom McLean. Do have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.